Hello everyone, welcome to our new unit in Math, Statistics and Probability. So this video is about the first math learning or math learning number 1. So our question for this topic is, how do you use probability and the probability scale today in your everyday lives? So you have to listen carefully, and at the end you should be able to show your evidence of learning in a way that you can answer our question. Okay, so for this video, you can now pause and then look at the math words. These are the math words that I'm going to use in this entire recording, and then you will also use these words later on when you show your learning. So pause and then take a look at it. Okay, so I guess you have already looked at the words or maybe even written them down in your notebook, so it's easier for you when you have to write down what it means later on. Okay, so the first question here is to learn what is probability. Probability is the likelihood or chance of something happening. So I have here event, and the word event is one of your math words in the previous slide. So if there is a situation that you would like to find out its chance of happening, we call that an event. Okay, to quantify the probability, you follow the formula number of ways of getting what you want over the number of possible outcomes. Again, I highlighted possible outcomes because this is one of the words, the math words that I shared with you in the previous slide. Okay, so what does this mean to quantify? Here, this means that you count the number of ways that what you want to get divided by the number of how many outcomes or how many possible outcomes that you are going to get. Okay. So let's have an example. So the first example is Tony tosses a coin, and what is the probability of getting a head? Okay, so we are assuming that the coin has one side has a head and one side is a tail. So whenever we talk about the coin, that is what we're going to use. Head and tail. So the head, I highlighted it as red, and that means that it's the event. Okay, so again, I put the formula, number of ways of getting what you want, and you want a head, and then for the choices or for the possible outcomes, you have one head in that coin, divided by or over the number of possible outcomes. There are only two possible outcomes. When you flip the coin, you can either get a head or the other side of the head. So this is the other side. Okay, so that means that in fraction, I can show the probability. I have one head, one, and then divided by two possible outcomes, so 1/2. Now you also have to take note that probability can be expressed in different ways. One of them is in fraction. If it's fraction, you can also make it into decimal. So 1/2 is equivalent or equal to 0.50 or 5/10. And you can also express your probability using percent. So you can make 0.50 or multiply that by 100, and it's 50, so that means 50%. Now I have here another example. So if Amy roll a fair dice, what is the probability of getting a 4? So imagine a die or dice, and then you know that it has 6 faces, and then there's 1 4 over there. So I'm going to show that to you. Here again is the formula. So here's that face of the die that has 4 dots and represents 4, divided by the number of possible outcomes. What are all those faces? What do they look like? And how many are they? It's a cube, so you will have 6 faces, and then you have these representations of each face. So I make it into a numerical value. So you have 1, out of 6 or 1/6. Okay, I am not going to show you the different ways of expressing this because later on I will do that anyway. So this is very important, so make sure that you understand. If not, you can pause the video and go back to example number 1 and then watch example number 2 again to understand. Okay, so moving on. Another guiding question, which is like our factual question, is how do you measure probability? On this part, I am now going to introduce to you 2 words, but they mean the same. You can call it probability scale or probability line. Most people will call it probability scale. Some will have probability line because you are guided by a number line. For the probability line, the minimum or the smallest number or amount or value that you can have in that line is 0, and then the biggest will be 1 or 100%, depending on whether you are using 0%. So in the middle of these 2 values, you have 0.5, which represents also 50%. A few more lines so you know that this between 50% is 25%, 0.25, and in here between 50 and 100 you have 0.75 or 75%, and you have these other values between 0 and 1 or 0 and 100%. Okay. Aside from the values or quantity, you can also describe the probability using words such as likely, impossible, certain, unlikely, and even. So all these colored words, they are all math words that I have shown you at the beginning. Okay, so if we are going to match these words that we have at the bottom, okay, so for 0, it can be described as an impossible event, and then certain goes to 100%, and the one in the middle is even chance, and then between 50% and 100% is likely to happen, and then here between impossible and even you have an event happening unlikely. Again, you can pause the video if you want to copy all these words so that you have them in your notebook. Okay, so if one of the examples is that it is impossible to get a 7 in a die when you roll a die, okay, because 7 is not going to come out. There's no 7 in one of the faces of a die. Now, unlikely. It is unlikely to snow in June, but depending on where you are, in some countries it is possible, but it's very, very unlikely. Okay. Another one is if you have a board that consists the same number of white squares and black squares. So to get the chance of getting a white square has the same or even chance on getting a black square or landing on a black square. Okay, for likely, okay, it is very likely that a small child will grow or grow taller, and so there's a big chance, so likely. And then it's certain and for sure that you are going to celebrate Christmas on December 25th. Okay. So following this, get ready with your notebook just to practice. Okay, I am going to give you different events and then answer them using the words. So your words are impossible, unlikely, even, likely, and certain. Okay, so here's the first event. Number 1, eating junk food and avoiding exercise will make you lose weight. What? Describe the probability of this event. Number 2, write it down in your notebook. Describe the event. Describe the probability of this event. Eating 5 fruits and vegetables per day helps prevent disease. Number 3, Good attendance at school has a positive effect on achievement. Number 4. The next baby to be born in Songdo is going to be a boy. Number 5. April 28th falls on a Tuesday in the year 2020. Okay, and then the last one. I will be able to speak fluent Russian in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so now it's time to check your answers. Number 1 is unlikely. Number 2 is likely. Number 3, likely. Number 4, even chance. And number 5 is certain, because it's really Tuesday. I'm not sure if April 28th by this time have already passed, or maybe today is April 28th. And number 6, am I going to learn Russian in the next, or it's past, so by this time I'm already should be fluent in Russian? No, it's impossible. Yes, I still don't speak Russian. Great. I hope that you have a good score. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, I've mentioned before that there are different ways of expressing probability. One of them we just practiced. Now we're going to practice and give you examples using fraction, decimal, and percent. Okay, let's have Smarties. So if I have a container and I use Smarties, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put all its contents outside, these candies outside, and I group them according to color. Okay, so if I count all of them, I have 20. How many Smarties? Yes, I'm correct. 20. So I have 20 possible outcomes. If I count all of these candies, I have 20 pieces. Okay, so let's use probability. If I put them back inside the container, if I pick a Smartie at random, what is the probability that it is green? So the probability of green is the event. That is what you are looking for. So remember, this is the event green. That's what you want to get. And then the total number of Smarties is 20. This is the number of possible outcomes. So the event is, okay, this is green. You have one green. And then the probability of picking green is how many you want. So one green out of 20 possible outcomes. So 1 out of 20. That is in fraction. You can also express your probability in decimal. So all you have to do is get your calculator, and it's 1 divided by 20. You will get 0.05, and it's also 5%. So you multiply 0.05 by 100 and you will get 5. Okay, another example. You pick 1. What's the probability of getting a brown? Okay, so we know that there are 20 possible outcomes because there are 20 candies there. And then the number of brown is 4. So I put them together. Okay, the number of brown is 4 divided by 20, which is also 1/5. If I simplify my fraction, that is already enough for your probability value. But you can also express your probability in decimal, which is 0.20 or 2/10, and then 20% in percent. So there's 20% probability of getting a brown. Okay. Third example. What if you want to find the probability that is orange or yellow? Again, orange or yellow is the event. Event is one of our math words. So first, total number of possible outcomes, which is 20, the total number of pieces of candies. Number of orange and yellow. So I put together the orange. I have 4 oranges and 3 yellow. I add them. So I have 7. So now I use the formula that I gave you a while ago. So 7 out of 20. That is the probability of picking orange or yellow Smarties. Okay, I hope you understand this concept. If not, go back and then watch this video again at the point that you are confused. Okay. Now, here's our last one. What is the probability that it is not blue? So the event is not blue. Total possible outcomes is 20. And we need to count the ones that are not blue. There are only 3 blues. We know that there are 3 blues. I don't want to count everything because I know that there are 20 in total. So I just do 20 minus 3. Then that means that the remaining candies are 17. So I have 17. So according to our formula, it should be the number of what we want to get, or of the event, which is 17 divided by the number of possible outcomes. So 17 out of 20 of not picking blue. Okay, so this is it, and our video is done. If you understood, it's time to check your understanding and to show and provide Miss Kim and Miss L, evidence of learning. And then in your hyper slide, you will have a choice board for math learning number 1. So choose which one you would like to do and show us that you have learned this lesson. Okay, so this is it. Goodbye.